ta gueule, grosse merde. Calme-toi, sinon il y a une grosse problème. Non, non, sérieusement là, il y a une grosse problème. Non, Paul, parle pas avec moi comme ça. Là, je vais me faire la tête. Il y a beaucoup de mal-respect sur ma femme. Je suis pas...
Am I the only one who has developed this massive bad taste in my mouth for Peggy and George? I really dislike them. I can't stand them. Yes, I was indifferent to Brad, but I feel like Peggy and George, their goal is to tarnish all the other couples and be the standout couple. I did not like everything they did or they said. I didn't like George's behavior and comments towards Portia. Oh my God, I'm so furious. Anyway, I digress. Hey there, thanks for stopping by. It's your girl Valerie. Welcome back. In this episode, I'll be reviewing Married at First Sight UK, Season 8, Episode 14. If you're new here, don't forget to click the like button, turn on the notification bell for when I upload new videos, leave a comment, and definitely subscribe. We're still on the way to 1,000 subs. Oh my God, the third week continues. So you have all the couples having conversations about their relationships, where they stand, and obviously they're preparing for the third dinner party. You have Rose and Thomas. They're excited that they're in a happy place. Thomas mentions that they've had coitus a second time, so they seem relieved. I think the intimacy week was very good for them because they were able to sort of break barriers and sort of put their walls down. I see that Thomas is moving on. I don't know about Ross. I really hope she lets go and she just relaxes. The two of them are very stiff and they're appear to be very regimented people. So I hope they can just relax and take a deep breath and move on. At least they're making the effort to make the changes, which I think is good. So I have high hopes for them. You have Brad and Shauna. That couple is scaring me. The way Brad keeps talking to Shauna about the fact that he has more experience. She doesn't have as much experience. So he more or less making it seem like he has to dumb himself down to sort of meet her inexperienced level. That's the impression that I get. They do talk about the fact that it's been, a tumultuous time for them. They've had ups and downs and they're hoping to be in a better place. Although Shauna says that she feels like she's done a lot of compromising in this relationship, which is very obvious because Brad and this universe stuff, oh my God, that's something else. You have... I'm really, really starting to have a bad taste in my mouth for George and Peggy, in the sense that George and Peggy have disliked certain couples. And so they've been looking for an excuse to get away with their dislike or to justify their dislike. Because when Peggy went for Shauna's intervention at Laura's house, she made it seem like, Terrence and Portia and Nathaniel and Ella should not be in the experiment because she doesn't feel that they are genuine. And so I think this was obvious because Jay came over and wanted her hair done. So while she was doing Jay's hair, then Jay told her that, we had a game, all the other couples met apart from you and Terrence. And, we're playing spin the bottle and Portia kissed a couple of guys, blah, 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 blah. And you could see the look on their faces. They must be discussing all the other couples. I think their goal is to leave the experiment as the most liked couple. That's the impression that I get because of how they've started tearing other couples down and how they've started scrutinizing other couples. There's no need for that. So I've seen a side of Peggy and George that I don't like. And the fact that George is saying, other people are not here for the right reasons. We are here. You have nothing to do with why anybody else is there. As long as they don't interfere in your marriage, keep it moving. Keep it moving. I don't know why you're even interested in the first place. Jay, and look, he's helping her with her dress, sort of, I think just to get it ready. Because I think him sort of doing the challenge where he had his arm tied to his back for the whole day, I think has made him more understanding and more compassionate and empathetic with his wife. So we'll see how that plays out. Terrence and Portia. Terrence mentions that Portia did apologize. She mentioned that, they did play a game, so I assume she told him everything. And she actually says, with the spin in the bottle, I don't want to talk about it. I hope it's not brought up. We were being silly and I had to apologize to Terrence. So I have high hopes for them. I really have high hopes. Arthur looks like he's really been unwell. I think he had COVID, I'm just saying, because he really drawn. And so he comes in, has a chat with Laura. Laura somehow seems to have sort of mellowed as well. She's mellowed in the experiment. So I hope she's as serious, because Arthur really did seem serious about getting married, though he bought his vows from the internet. All the couples get ready for the dinner night and they all start arriving. Normally, I don't like to label couples, but I am going to label a couple just for once because they're getting on my last nerve. Mr. High and Mighty, we are the most perfect couple. We are better than you. Peggy and George, they are the first to arrive. They are looking around. They think they're the best dressed. They think they're the best couple. They have the best connection. And it's like, okay, if that makes you happy, do you? Next up is Jay and Luke. They are always happy together. They have had this spark and they're building on it and they're growing and they seem very comfortable around one another, which is good. So then, you have next up is Shauna and Brad. And before Shauna and Brad arrive, you have George sort of having a conversation with Luke and asking him, did you participate in the game that was played? And he said yes. And then he brings up, Portia and the spin the bottle thing. And you could see the more he spoke, the more uncomfortable Luke became, because he didn't like that. I think he thought the game was finished. Whenever it was done, he didn't realize that his wife had gone and told these two notorious, I'll leave it like that. Anyway, so after Shauna and Brad arrive, you then have Tasha and Paul. Tasha and Paul, I love them. They're always in their own little bubble. They don't care about what's going on with anybody else. As long as they're happy and they're comfortable, that's it for them, which I love. Roz and Thomas seem in a better place, way better place. They are more happy. They are more comfortable around one another. And you had, Roz and Tasha having a conversation and Roz confiding that they did go around too. And this time it was way better than the first time. So which was good. And then Laura and Arthur arrive. They seem happy. Everyone seems relieved to see Arthur that he's doing a lot better and is in a better place, which is good. That's when obviously they start having conversations about what's been going on during the week. After that, you have Erica and Jordan, and everybody's surprised to see them because this is the first time they're meeting them. So it's nice to see them. They're welcomed into the group. It seems Erica comes from the same town as Shauna's mum, which was good. Then you have Portia and Terrence arrive, and as soon as they arrive, you can see the looks that George and Peggy are exchanging, and it's like, if the two of you are happy and are comfortable in your marriage, why should you worry about what's going on with everybody else? That has absolutely nothing to do with you. Focus on the two of you and do you. That's it. Anyway, you then have Luke pull Terrence aside and sort of have a conversation with him about the spin the bottle game. It seems he knew about the spin the bottle, but he didn't realize how many people she had kissed. So, it was nice that Luke pulled him aside and actually had a private conversation. He didn't bring it up in the group. And so that was good, and that was addressed. And then out of the blue, I think Portia sensed something was wrong, so she went to her husband. They had a conversation, and they were speaking about cheating. And he was saying, you don't like cheating, so tell me exactly what happened. And so he asked her, if I had done the same thing, would you be happy? And she said, well, I don't class it as cheating because there were a lot of people around us. But had I been in a room with someone, or had you been in a room with someone, just the two of you and making out, then I would have a problem with that. And for me, these kissing games are always a problem. Even on Love Island, they're always a problem because people always get in their feelings and feel some type of way. Then we have, George decides to call himself the judge, and he decides, this is after Ella and Nathaniel arrive, and he starts sort of having a conversation and trying to interrogate Portia. I think he was trying to humiliate Portia. I think he didn't like the fact that last week they came in, they were happy, they were comfortable, and everyone was saying they're in a good place. So I think he was looking for a way to humble her. This is why he brought it up. And I give it to Portia to say, who are you to ask me? I've had a conversation with my husband. That's the most important thing. How you feel about it doesn't matter. And you could see everybody else was starting to feel some type of way. Even Arthur asked, George, who are you to ask her? That has nothing to do with you. You're not the judge here. Laura wasn't having it because Laura and Portia are the closest, I think, in the group. So she wasn't having it. Everybody else, you could see they were starting to have a bad taste in their mouth because they couldn't understand why George was really pushing it. And Terrence had to say, if George is saying he's trying to sort of advocate for me as his friend, why didn't he pull me aside? Why didn't he come on my door, knock on my door and say, buddy, this is what I've heard. I just want you to have a heads up before we go into this event. Instead of him coming and sort of fanning the flames and trying to make this bigger than it actually is, that I do not like, and I personally didn't like it. Then you have JJ and Bianca arrive, and it's like, I don't know why Bianca has to put up with this man, for lack of a better word, because he's really annoying me in the sense that he's not as good looking as he thinks he is. He's not as fit as he thinks he is. So the idea that suddenly he expects to be with a supermodel, the supermodels were with him maybe because he's got money. He said he's got his own designs and stuff. Maybe that's why they were after him, not because he's good looking. Somebody needs to humble him. I can't wait for that. The dinner, everybody sits down, and so you can see couples are in a good space, and George and Peggy are trying to stir the pot. And I like the fact that Terrence stood up, because last week he gave a toast to apologize for what had happened, and this week he stood up to say, I don't like drama, please can you leave me out of your drama. I don't understand, George, why you had to bring this to the whole group. If this was a problem, you should have brought it to me, which I liked that he, and George is like, well, you brought it out to the whole group. And it's like, you started Chinese whispers, and then now you're suddenly surprised that everybody, that's what they're talking about. And Portia went to war with George. Portia really dragged him because she couldn't understand why he was making a bigger deal of it than it needed to be. And he is trying to say, I need answers. And it's like, you need answers for what? On Married at First Sight, you're there to marry a stranger. If you make friends with the other couples, amazing. If you don't, still amazing. As long as you and your couple, you are happy in your couple. So for him to then continue to sort of drag it and try and sort of make it worse than it is, I think they're not happy as a couple, George and Peggy. I think they're looking for a way to drag other couples down. I think the rating last week made them feel some type of way, so they want to be the most compatible couple. So in order to do that, they need to show the cracks in other couples. It was nice to see Erica and Jordan sort of blending with Jay and Luke. They seemed to be in a good place. They were having a conversation. It took a while for Terrence to silence, Portia, to sort of calm her down and pacify her. But I like the fact that she respected him enough to sort of be pacified. Even when you had Peggy try to step in, I like the fact that Portia didn't back down because they are trying to paint her as the villain. They hate the idea that suddenly Portia and Terrence are now moving in sync. And you could tell also with the fact that other couples are not happy. People like Arthur is not happy at all. Arthur knows that Portia and Laura are best friends, so he's going to be protective of Portia, because he even said to George, you need to apologize to Portia because that wasn't necessary. And he's like, well, I don't feel like it. I need to stand by my words. And it's like, you're not standing by your words. You're just being a jackass. You're just showing your true colors. You're just showing us that you are the villain of this week, of the season. You are Mr. and Mrs. Villain, and that's who you're going to be labeled as, and that's where you're going to stay. It was nice to see Tasha and Paul busy talking about rings, her saying, she wants an engagement ring. They seem very happy. They don't like to be part of the drama. I hope Portia, once this is over, she's able to move away from it and just focus on her marriage. Obviously, everybody was asking Bianca how she and George are doing, and she's sort of brought up her grievance in the sense that they both don't really know where they are, because JJ keeps sort of dragging her along because she's not a supermodel. And it's like, okay, look at the ladies in the room. Who then do you think is a supermodel status? Then you shouldn't be on the show because none of them are supermodels. Anyway, so be happy with what you have. You have an amazing person and keep it moving. So it was nice to see also Roz, having a word with Laura and saying how happy she was in a couple and how, things have really progressed and how comfortable she's become. And that was cute to see. I really liked it. You can tell they're happy, the way they're leaning towards one another. They're smiling at one another, which is good. Erica and Jordan revealed to Jay and Luke that they had sex, which was amazing. So it's cute to see. It's really cute to see that once everyone has eaten, because Arthur had to say to them, let's eat before the food gets cold, because he could tell that George was trying to stir the pot. So you have Laura and Shauna tell Ella that this is what has been said behind your back by your best friend Peggy. She said you and, Nathaniel are in a friendship couple and you shouldn't be here. So, and I like the fact that Ella was able to address it with Peggy and let her know that this is unacceptable. You're the closest person to me since the hen do. So the idea that you'd go behind my back and be saying all this, I can't understand. I am really hurt. I'm really heartbroken. And for her not to apologize, I do not get why she didn't apologize or why she didn't feel the need to apologize. Everybody at the table deserved an apology from Peggy and George. And so for them to sit there and play higher than mighty and pretend like they're innocent victims, I didn't like that. And the girls also told Portia, which Portia was going to ignore up until Peggy decided to come back and sort of try and throw mud at her. I think the goal for George and Peggy is to sort of tarnish other couples and try and get rid of all the couples that they think are dragging attention from them. I think anyone who they think might be popular with the viewers than them, they're trying to get rid of. This is why they're trying to get rid of Nathaniel and Ella and Portia and Terrence. And this is why they were stirring the pot. For George to call Portia you big shit, I did not like that. And for him to use French, he knew he was going to be derogatory. He knew he was going to say all the nastiest things. And Terrence wouldn't understand him in French. That's why he went on in French. And I like the fact that Portia actually answered him in French. I did not like that. I thought that was very disrespectful. I have lost all respect for George. I can't wait for him to go home. He needs to go home, because his behavior and his attitude is unacceptable. They need to make him apologize. If he does not apologize, he needs to go home, because that disrespect will not be tolerated. No matter what Portia did, he was looking for an excuse to tarnish Portia. He was looking for an excuse, and now he's found it. That's all he's spoken about. Nobody has heard anything about them as a couple. That's all they've spoken about. And for Peggy to sort of come back and try and sort of justify herself and, oh, my husband, this, and it's like, my dear, you didn't like your husband on your wedding day. Suddenly, the two of you are in good books. You showed you're crazy on the first 2 days of your honeymoon, and then suddenly you mellowed down and you're in this honeymoon phase. I can't wait for them to explode. I want them to go home. I really can't stand them. They've got on my last nerve. They really have. They remind me of Bronte and Harrison, and I can't wait for them to go home. I don't know. We'll see how it plays out. Anyway, thanks guys for watching. Please don't forget to like, share, comment, and subscribe. Bye everyone.